Welcome to Life in Lockdown. I'm Runga, and I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming today a lovely gentleman that I've gotten to know over the last few years, and he's such a great fun person to hang out with, and I'm a massive fan since I was a child. I'm sorry, yeah, but I am, and his name is Mr. Ruud Kleinpaste, but you might know him as the Bugman. Now, Ruud,
thank you for that.
Thank you for joining me. You're very welcome. Now, thank you for joining me. And could you tell everyone where you're in your bubble? Whereabouts is your bubble right now?
And my bubble is in Christchurch. I'm here with Julie, my wife, and a dog called Rolly, who's really ancient and old and is deaf. But he loves walking in the quarry and going on expeditions with me, so he's cool. And Julie basically is a teacher, and she's doing a little bit of work on the computer every now and then, and we sort of work together. We take shares in cooking. We go for walks here in the Christchurch, in the Horswell Quarry, and we go for bike rides sometimes up the hill and muck about, and it's gorgeous.
Oh, yay. I mean, I see you a lot, actually, at the airport when they were flying. You're a very, very busy man. I mean, you are involved with a lot of educational programs for different people. I mean, the way that I've known you is through the Mazda Foundation and Tremendous.
Yeah.
But you're always jet-setting around the place and doing public speaking and the likes. I mean, you've got downtime now. So have you managed to do, what have you been working on at home? Like, you must have some projects you've been meaning to catch up on.
Well, I'm writing a script for Jack Tame's radio show, which goes out on Saturday. I do a script for Tuesday morning, Monday morning with Francesca Rudkin on News Talk ZB. And it's all about...
lovely, Francesca.
Yeah, that's the point, you see. And this is how I got to know you too, because it's not just bugs. See, if I look at your design, bugs. No, it's not just bugs, darling. If I look at your designs, you're a nature nerd and you do a lot of bird stuff. And to be quite so let me give you a what do you call it, a first here, and something that not many people realize, that the Bugman is actually a fraud. You've heard it here first. That's the point. I have never studied entomology in my life, not one paper ever. It's a hobby, and it's not even my first hobby. My first hobby is birds. There you go.
Oh, your first hobby was birds.
Exactly. And when I was bird watching, I'm a nature nerd, so I had binoculars. Like that, you know? And if I looked at birds, they were always eating insects. And I thought, I wonder what they're eating. So I got interested in little bugsies and little creepy crawlies as a result of that, basically. And in the Netherlands at my university, I started collecting butterflies and moths. There's some interesting stories about that, because that was my pickup line. My pickup line was, I have a butterfly collection. And I can imagine that this girl would go back to her friends and would say, he actually has one. Anyway,
that's an interesting pickup line, Ruud.
It is.
How many times did that work?
Come on, Bo.
Oh, wow.
For crying out loud. Those are very personal questions. No, but the point is that...
You brought it up.
I know, but my point was, I'm like you, because you're exactly the same in some ways. You're a nature nerd too. I'm a nature nerd as well, because I realize that this planet is bloody important for us to survive. This is our home. We haven't got a planet B, so this is the point. So this is why all these connections to me are quite important and very important for our survival. So as I said, I'm a nature nerd. I do full frontal nerdity. There you go. That's what I do. No, I mean, we've worked together.
Hi, my name's Ruud. I've got a butterfly collection and I do full frontal nerdity.
Yeah, I'm a nerd. But you get the point. And when you then start to go through life like that, you suddenly realize that there are other people like that. They might not be as extrovert as I am sometimes, But this is exactly what this should be about, because if you're talking about COVID virus, and if you're talking about how we survive on this planet, all these things come together. And sometimes it's really good to have a chat about that as well. Thank you.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. And thank you so much for agreeing to have a chat with me.
I would love to have it. I always have a chat
I know,
with you.
I try and get to see you whenever I come down to Christchurch as well,
Yeah,
you know.
that's right. And also when we do the planting with tremendous, for instance, at the school grounds. So maybe I should explain that for the people that watch this blog, that what we are doing via the Mazda Foundation and Project Crimson is we create outdoor learning spaces for the simple reason that we believe that kids should be learning outside rather than inside. So we build forests for them. And this is when I find you on the other end of a spade. And this is the cool thing. It's not just talk, we do stuff.
I know, and it's such a great deal of fun as well, you know.
Yeah,
and it's a wonderful thing to watch your interaction with children. Children adore you.
No.
You're like Father Christmas.
Yeah.
Kind of. But with
it's
a
because I'm
whole
a kid.
lot of instincts to show people and yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I got my box. Hang on. Here we go. This is the point, eh? Oh, it's never far away.
Oh, here he goes.
Me.
He's reaching for the box.
I'll take it off the lid off so it doesn't glare as much. So there you go.
Oh.
See? So this is the sort of stuff that people I think, Bo, people need to know that this is what you do too. You come with me and you know the names of all these things and you help just as much talking to kids. And that's what it's about. So you show them this long centipede and I explained that the reason it's in the box is because it bit me. And I was paralyzed for 2.5 hours.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh gee.
Sorry, these things are seriously poisonous from the North Island, these things. So not very good. But they are good, of course. But that's the point. There's stories everywhere. So let me tell you, storyteller Runga.
Yes, sir.
What is the difference between telling stories about nature and writing songs?
I don't know. Some songs do tell stories about nature.
There is no difference. It is about the storytelling.
Mm.
And that is the other hobby that I so like, is the music. I recently, when things broke down and all my jobs went and I'm totally gainfully unemployed, it's wonderful. I sat in a plane. I must admit, I went to the funeral of one of my very, very good friends, Rob Fennick, about 3-4 weeks ago. That was the last plane ride I did. And I then realized that Rob had gone and we were going to close down New Zealand in some ways, and I wouldn't be flying for a while. And I put my headphones on and my earphones on, and I was listening to music for probably the first time in months, actually properly. And I just almost started crying because I realized I totally missed that particular part of the storytelling, the music and the creativity.
Yeah.
And that is how we got around to our first question, which was your birds and your designs and the feathers, how they are linked to this, to the bugs, how they are linked to the forest and to our future. And to me, that makes total sense.
Well, music is such a therapeutic way to, I mean, you went through an emotional charged, you know, a funeral is always like that. And it brings out a lot of emotions. So, I mean, have you been finding solace in music then at this time? It's such a strange period of time for all of us here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
music
is a powerful way to get through. What have you been listening?
I go walking with my headphones on, and or if I want to listen to the birds, I won't. But if I go walking with my headphones on the street, that's fine. I can do that. And it's the same here. I sometimes listen to new stuff or watch videos or whatever. I think that's great, but I've got the time to do it. This is why I like my lockdown so much.
Oh, that's good. I'm pleased that you're liking lockdown. What have you been listening to then?
All sorts of bits and pieces, stuff that I've actually been mining a lot more than New Zealand artists. I kind of fell in love with Tiny Ruins for a while. And,
wonderful.
Yeah, it's just, you go through it and you think, and you sort of hone in on it. And you listen to everything. You can hear all sorts of changes and movements and progressions and all that sort of stuff through life. And that's cool.
Oh, beautiful. And what about what you've been watching? Is there anything particularly inspiring that you've been watching or anything that you could recommend to us out there?
Yeah, there's lots of stuff inspiring. The David Attenborough type series are always good.
Yeah.
but the inspiration thing that I get sometimes is from filmmaking or television making that is it's got all these wonderful new technologies and new techniques. But then again, I'm also literally the whore of Babylon when it comes to watching watching things like
The whore of Babylon.
well, you know what I mean. I'll eat anything. It's a bit like I just realized that that also the same happens with my food. You know, I love to eat a lot of Indonesian food and nasi gorengs and all that.
Oh, delicious.
Oh yeah, I'm right into that because I was born in Indonesia. You see, so but the point with Tim in terms of watching is sometimes the old Rick Stein videos, but also Monty Don with his gardening, and then there is.
I love that. I love those. He's wonderful. He's like this wonderful gentleman gardener who comes on in with that wonderful soothing voice and points things out. And...
Last night, Julie and I saw him. Steve appears, and this is what's left of the cricket pitch. And I thought, yeah, that is Monty Don.
Oh, lovely Monty Don. Actually, may I just segue to something here that I want to show you?
Go.
This is in my book collection.
Yeah. Oh no.
Can you see that?
Yes, I can see that. Thank you. That's lovely. Oh, gorgeous.
Is it zipping in and out of my COVID thing? This is Maggie's Garden Show Guide from... I don't even know when.
I think that is about 1991, 2, 3.
1997. Oh, it's first published in 1997.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
So, and that's a wonder. Who's that handsome man?
Oh, that was me. Yeah, it was a good time. I with Jack. I talked to Jack Hobbs the other day, and Maggie as well. By the way, I've still got contact with Maggie and Jack, and sometimes
that was a wonderful show. I mean, you've done a lot of wonderful shows throughout your career. So
that was fantastic. Cool. That was cool. And that was followed up when they finally canned it. It was followed up by a show we did with Linda Helenen about gardening. And after that, they got me to the United States to work on Animal Planet and Discovery Channel for about 3 years, which was good. That was really fun. Traveling
was that the one where you went to South America?
Oh, everywhere.
Yeah, it was amazing. I love that one. That's hard to find that one though.
That's because the second show called Buggin' with Ruud was never made into a series on DVD. Animal Planet did not want that to happen. We asked them, but the first series was called The World's Biggest Baddest Bugs, which was put onto DVD by Natural History New Zealand in Dunedin because they.
I don't think I've seen Biggest Baddest Bugs.
Baddest Bugs. Yeah, it's a typical American title, isn't it?
It's a
biggest, baddest bugs. Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh my gosh. Are you working on anything bug related at the moment then?
Always. I'm working on insects as a context for education. So if you start looking at particular creatures, what can you learn from them? Numeracy, algebra? Can you put creative writing in there? You know, what does it feel like to fly like a butterfly through the sky and looking up and seeing a predatory bird going like, ooh, and you're going like, shit, where would you go?
Oh, I don't know whether I want to know how that feels.
No, but that's the point. So it's the same. You know what we do with the kids when we show them the picture of the fantail, and they all say, "Oh, fantail, pee waka waka," and I said, "Yeah, but did you know that is one of the closest living relatives of Tyrannosaurus Rex?" And they go like, I said, yes, because remember, dinosaurs changed their scales into feathers to keep themselves warm, and then suddenly they learned to fly. And if you look at, for instance, the chicken legs or the legs of a fantail, you'll still see the dinosaur scales there. The beak is made of keratin, which is like your fingernails, and so on and so forth. But I want to hear in 500 words in creative writing what a really hecked off fantail might sound like. And the whole storytelling goes back into the curriculum, and that's what kids like because they get that idea.
Yeah. It creates a little bit of a thing with people's imaginations, and they get excited. It's a great thing that you're doing. I'm just wondering if now that because everyone's in lockdown in their own gardens or in their own, if they have the pleasure of having a garden, what could they be doing as a family and looking out for together if they haven't had that sort of?
totally strange, out of the way thing. So you know about Predator Free 2050, by which everybody has traps, and we're ridding the New Zealand of stoats and rats and possums and all that, which means that every backyard in New Zealand in 2050 could potentially have kiwi walking around.
But that would be quite wild.
Exactly.
Wild.
And if you want to see that happen, you go to Stewart Island, where they walk during the day around people's backyard. Or you go to places like Little Barrier Island, Hauturu Atoi, where they are, you know, I mean, you can't get there very easily, but you know what I mean. But I'm going into the backyard saying to kids and to parents, if you do get kiwi walking around your backyard or in your lawn or in your gardens, what would they be eating? How do you find out? And then they have to learn about how they find food, you know, with their long bill going into the soil and probing for worms and creepy crawlies and bugs and grubs and beetles and all sorts of things. Now, how much do you have in your lawn? And then kids go and take a spade and start digging up a lot. Well, not digging it up, but taking samples. So you teach them how to take samples and identify what is in your lawns and in your garden and what would be food for kiwi, because that's all well published. So this is hands-on nature nerdness that kids can do in their own backyard or in the park. Now, that's the sort of stuff that we need to do, and I like that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to do. It's a great thing to do, opening people's eyes into what they have in their own backyards.
It's cool.
I love it. Yeah, it's very cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that I've asked you, and it's about your stay list, so what you've been listening to at home. So you've got down here a few songs that you've been listening to, and one of them actually I'm kind of intrigued with is, I haven't heard this Peter Gabriel song. Which one is this one? So
is that Here Comes the Flood?
Yes.
Lord, here comes the flood. I'll say goodbye to flesh and blood. It's a very sad song, I feel. But you know Peter Gabriel, he started Genesis in the old days when I still had hair. And he basically left Genesis late 70s, early 80s, something like that. And he started doing a solo career, and this was one of his one of his songs that he did on one of his first solo albums from memory. Fabulous. But he is a little bit, so if I take an example of your album right here, which has got this really crisp separation of guitars, synthesizers, and it's like a crisp thing, but you can hear it. It's not like Genesis was later with this swamp blanket of sounds all merging into, you know what I mean, that wall of sound type stuff. He has this crisp stuff, and you hear every clave and rasp and percussion instrument clear. And this is what it's about. It is about separation, but separation in a beautiful form. And this song has that, and I love it. But it also has this. It's very sad. Ever listen to it? You'll get it.
I shall. You've also got Imogen Heap here.
Oh yeah, Imogen Heap. Yeah,
Imogen Heap is like Imogen Heap. Sorry, Ruud. Imogen Heap is like, to me, like a modern, a little like Kate Bush.
Yes.
A little bit Kate Bush like.
Yeah, but Imogen Heap does what you and I have just talked about, is the survival on the planet needs to be happening with cooperation, not with competition. So if I look at you know how these days the politicians are talking, we have to rescue our economy. I say, no, let it die. We need a new kind of an economy, which is a lot more collaborative and a lot more gratitude and a lot more loving and a lot more sharing rather than competition. And Imogen Heap now is making her songs in a very collaborative manner. In fact, anybody can just jump in and change things. You realize that?
No, I haven't listened to her recently.
So this is the way she's operating. And I think that way of thinking and looking at the planet and the future is exactly what we need in all the various things that we're doing, including our economy and our business ethics. So, but that's number one. But Imogen Heap, yes. But Climb to Sakteng is a thing about. I think she went to Nepal, and took a sound bite of a guy singing that Indian sort of Nepalese type, Himalayan type sounds. And she wrote a song around that soundscape, which is Climb to Sakteng. And her video shows people climbing the hill, the mountain, backwards.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, backwards. Everything has changed. I love it. Go and have a look. You'll love it.
I shall. I've asked here if you could live in any decade, maybe again. When would that be? And your top songs from that time.
Yeah, it's the time when I started a band in the Netherlands, and you know that we played covers, and I was hopeless. I couldn't sing, and all I did was do a bit of piano, a bit of guitar, and sometimes bass, whatever. But the point was, those were the days that really shaped my ears, my listening, because my mum taught me piano when I was 6, and I went on till 12, and I hated it because my mum was a teacher. And that was Indonesia strap. You know, if you did it wrong or if you didn't want to listen, it was in those days. It was just the way it was. But here comes the thing. She taught me all the way. She taught me to read music, which I can't really anymore. Well, I can, but not very well. But she taught me to listen to things and exposed me to lots of classical music and opera and all sorts of other bits and pieces. Here's a lovely little music story, and it might be lost on you, but maybe older people will remember. I remember going to the general rehearsals of the orchestra in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and my mum and dad were in a choir, and I was always, when I was a little kid, had to sit next to the harpist, who was a lovely lady, and she would throw me sweets over the podium, like, and I would pick them up, and I would be eating for about an hour of sweets, and we were always with Uncle Herbie. Uncle Herbie was the conductor. And it wasn't until 20 years later that I realized his name was actually Herbert von Karajan, one of the most famous conductors on the planet, who was working with that group of my parents in the orchestra. And I was in that, this is the point. So this was almost like, you know, whatever, playing with the Beatles.
It's Uncle
you know
Herbie.
what I mean?
I'm getting lolly from the harpist.
Exactly.
It's all good.
So this is how it went. So I had all this piano stuff going, and then I thought, when I left home, I went to university. The first thing I did was I bought a guitar and started playing modern music, not of this classical stuff, and started a band. And that was really fun. It was really cool. And so now we're coming back to your question. That was the era when I started to listen to the Beatles, to John Martin, to Fairport Convention, folk, jazz, all sorts of bits and pieces. And so that to me is a really important era. And I'm an old bastard, and I'm still loving it.
Oh, good on you. Of course. An old bastard, never an old bastard.
Yeah.
Your karaoke song.
Oh,
if given the chance to sing,
I can't.
Ruud, what would you like to do?
I changed it from Baby Shark, Baby Shark, Baby Shark to the only karaoke song I ever did in Japan, which was "And Your Bird Can't Sing," because that's exactly how I felt. I am hopeless at singing. I can do a second voice at some stages if I do it very gently, but that's about it. I would never be a singer like you, never ever. And this is why I really appreciate people with a good voice. Hence Sarah Bareilles on there.
Beautiful voice.
Yeah. And the girls from Lucius, God, they're good. Anyway, so "And Your Bird Can Sing," but that was an absolute disaster, and most of my friends in Japan will vouch for that.
Actually, another one that you've got here, which is wonderful. Have you seen that you've got Amy Winehouse as another artist that you play a lot?
Yeah, I do.
Have you actually seen that documentary? The documentary that's
up in Scotland.
The documentary of her about her on Netflix.
I'm not sure which one that is, and I know it because I know it's there. I've got the list that I need to do, and this is one of the things I wanted to look at. I did see a documentary of her going with one of her band members to on the islands of Scotland, and I think I saw it on a flight once, a long haul flight, and it was absolutely stunning because she was playing with her bass player. I think that was all she had, and she was doing her whole set the whole show with the bass player.
Oh, I don't know this one. I haven't seen
No,
that. No.
I've looked for it everywhere on the internet.
Oh.
And can't find it. So there you go. So I do admire her for that. But there's somebody else, and that is kind of something that is my favorite tune of all times, which is similar to that, and it is Me Jedyna Niebo, which is a song in Polish by a lady called Anna Maria Jopek. She's famous in Poland, and that's about it. And she made an album with a joker called Pat Metheny. You might know Pat Metheny.
I do know who Pat Metheny is.
There you go. So Pat Metheny, so when you listen to that has Pat Metheny's melody and Anna Maria and guitars, and Anna Maria Jopek's brilliant voice, and she's another one of those extremely amazing singers.
Wow.
So yeah, that's always on my phone.
I hope that we can get this up onto the on Spotify for everyone to listen to, because there's a great list of songs here. So I'm very excited. I'm going to be listening to this. Lovely. And anything else you've been watching then on Netflix, perhaps, or that you have tried to find on Netflix or Prime?
I am watching, as I said, The Blacklist on Netflix, which is going, and there was another thing, The Stranger, which is quite a scary...
Is that the one I've seen, the sort of shots where somebody shows up and says, your wife is telling you...
Yeah, that's the one.
You know.
And it's what's the lady name from Ab Fab? She's in it for a couple of episodes as well. Absolutely fabulous. I forget her name. I always forget names. I'm getting old. But it isn't quite a thing. Another thing I'm watching at the moment is Big Little Lies, the second series.
Oh, okay.
I've got it on DVD. It's not on Netflix. I've got it on DVD. It's another one of those things that goes on and on and on. It's great fun.
It goes on and on.
No, it's
much like us.
You
Much
go
like
like one episode and then I've got to go to bed.
I know. But don't you just love it when you just watch things and you go, oh, I'm a bit tired. I should stop watching it. Oh, no, I'll keep going.
No, I have to go, and now if it's too tense, I'll go, no, that's it. I've had enough. I had enough beers, had enough of this, off we go. Boom.
Oh, you know what? Curb Your Enthusiasm does that for me. If it gets too intense, and I just go, oh, no, I need a timeout. I need a timeout.
Yeah. Because
I cannot handle what is happening right now.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I love everything that you've been talking with me about today. Thank you for your time. Have you got any other sort of recommendations? Anything you've been reading, perhaps? Or
no, I'm reading a book. Oh, that's so boring. No, it's not boring. It's fabulous.
No, it's amazing.
It's about bees. But you have to remember that all I do these days, or all I do on the computer, is read scientific literature. So I don't read for pleasure a lot. Having said that, I just came across this article or this story about bees taking away mulch from the ground and going for the mycelium, which is the roots of fungi, which are leaking little droplets of sweet juice almost, which the bees like. They put it into a honey, which is very antiviral. So if you're talking about COVID,
where is this being published though? Is it being studied where?
This was published in America. This was done by Paul Stamets. He's a famous nutcase fungal guy.
I know who. Yes, he's actually his work has been used in Star Trek.
Oh, probably.
The recent Star Trek Discovery series, and it's been
exactly. Exactly.
Science fiction nerd too.
This guy is remarkable because some of my mates from Landcare Research or DSA or whatever, they know him from way, way back, and they also realize that he was a seriously heavy user of all sorts of magic mushrooms, and he tried everything on the planet. So we're never sure whether his research is fair dinkum or mostly a figment of his imagination. But I must say, this guy is really good at opening your eyes to realize that it's not bugs that run the planet, but fungi.
Fungi, yeah. How interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, can you send that one to me?
I will. I'll yes, that's it. And if there's anything on this list that you can't get, just let me know, and I'll get you. Of
course, and you can replace it with something else. But I'm really interested. It's a wonderful list. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, Ruud.
Thank you, Bo.
And what are you going to be doing for the rest of today?
I've got to finish the painting of our new shed.
Oh, very good. What color are you painting
built a
it?
little shed. It's cedar, and I'm putting a little brown stain on it, which makes it all the same color.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful shed. Yeah, we built it for Julie.
Oh, lovely. Have a lovely rest of your day then.
You too.
Thank you for your time.
Go well. And it's been so lovely talking to you. And I hope to see you maybe later on this winter when all the problems are over, that we go back into these school grounds and build some more of these forests that you and I know.
These little mini forests, yes.
These little mini forests, yeah. And we'll get the kids involved and get them to learn inside the forest. Outdoor classrooms. There you go.
Outdoor classrooms, yes.
Hey,
Thank you, Ruud.
Go well. Love your blog. See you later, and be well.
Bye. Thank you.